If I give you all the money in the world, would you still continue to work as a doctor? And strikingly, a lot of them actually will say no. Welcome back to the channel. Today I've been asked by a lot of people who are thinking of going to med school and wanting to become a doctor that they have seen this video and wanting to know whether some of these tips are true or not. So I'm going to share some insider information working as a doctor and an ex-pharmacist as well in New Zealand, whether or not these tips about not going to medical school is true or not. Let's dive right into this.
Being a doctor is an awesome profession, but it's far from perfect. Society at large idolizes the hard work, dedication, and status that being a physician entails. But I would argue that there is a significant subset of individuals who want to become doctors, but probably shouldn't.
This is actually quite true. A lot of colleagues that I'm working with right now actually regrets that they have actually picked medicine. And I asked them this question over and over again. I find it really interesting. I asked them, if I give you all the money in the world, would you still continue to work as a doctor? And strikingly, a lot of them actually will say no. They would say, oh, actually, I want to do some artsy stuff. I wanted to do painting as a hobby, as something that I want to do. I want to go and plant some trees, travel the world, but actually not do medicine. But then there are the other half that said, definitely not. I will definitely work, but I might just choose to work part-time. And these are some of the doctors that have actually picked the right profession. They are truly enjoying what they are actually doing. And it actually shows when it comes to them interacting with patients and actually practicing medicine. It is actually more enjoyable to work alongside these doctors because they enjoy their work so much. And this is really the purpose of this video, to actually try to fish out those misconceptions or the things that you might think, oh, once I get into medicine, I will achieve this. Once I get into medicine, this doesn't matter. I'm willing to make all these sacrifices. It is much more than that, so let's keep watching.
In this video, I'll help you figure out if you're one of those people. What's going on, guys? Dr. Jabal, MedSchoolInsiders.com. As many of you know, Med School Insiders is much more than just a YouTube channel. We have been offering courses and services on our website for people who are interested in either getting accepted to med school or matching into residency. It may seem counterintuitive then that we would be making a video focusing on reasons one should not go into medicine. From a business perspective, we should want as many people to go into medicine as possible. After all, that would be the most profitable to us. But Med School Insiders is about much more than that. We seek to create a better future of happier, healthier, and more effective doctors.
I really love what they're doing here with Med School Insiders, where they actually are so transparent. And yes, they are really true in terms of they want everyone to get into medicine so the business will grow. But it's much more than that. When you actually become a doctor, you actually work alongside these healthcare professionals. You see a lot of people that are unsustainable in terms of how they are actually going to work and not enjoying their work. They now have responsibilities. They may have 2 children and have a family that they need to raise. They have to take care of their parents as well. And it becomes this cycle of needing to pay the bills. That's why I've come to work, but I've chosen the wrong work. And they become this really burnt out person. And it's really sad to see this happening, because when you actually choose to go into medicine, you are in high school. You're only 15, 16 or 17 years old, and you have to decide a career for your whole life. And you have to hold yourself accountable. You have to hold yourself to that decision for the whole life, just because you have made that decision when you were a teenager. And once you have actually achieved that and actually working in this profession, and you realize that you don't actually enjoy doing this becomes a big problem. But if you are the other half that have actually picked this profession and actually have had your due diligence done, actually have seen what's on the other side and what it actually entails when it comes to being a doctor, those are the half of the people that I talked about really enjoys their work, really enjoys their life as well. And together with Med School Insiders, this will hopefully give you a little bit more insight. And now being on the other side, actually being a doctor and seeing what it's like going through medical school, going through the hours, working through the rosters, going through the challenges, and also benefits of being a doctor. It's all about seeing both sides. And I truly believe there isn't one profession that is truly all good and no bad. There's always that balance between the good and the bad. And I really wish to bring all of the good sides and the bad sides so you can actually make a truly informed decision for yourself when you pick being a doctor as a profession, because this will continue decades into your life as you dedicate your whole life vocation to this.
And a big part of that philosophy is keeping it real with you all and cutting through the nonsense. Unless you're in the thick of it, it's hard to truly comprehend what it means to go through medical school or residency. I'll do my best to cut out the noise and help you decide whether or not this field is a good fit for you. Here are 4 signs that becoming a doctor is not for you. First, parental pressure. If parental pressure is a significant factor in your motivation to go to medical school and to become a doctor, do yourself a favor and don't do it.
Before he says anything further, I think a lot of us, particularly us as Asians, a lot of our parents want us to become a doctor. Maybe it was that previously they have their preconception. Myself, in my family, none of my parents were doctors, so we weren't a medical family. But it's seen as this really good profession that everyone seems to respect and you have a really good life. But it's much more than that. And let's see what Med School Insiders have to say about this.
I've seen dozens of students enter medicine due to family pressures, and it almost never ends up well for them. They usually either quit in the middle of medical school, or if they continue on, their disdain for the profession and their life is heavy and readily apparent. Some have even told me that they wish they could quit, but they feel trapped because their family would disown them, or their significant student loans have them cornered. It's a tough situation, no doubt about it. But if you continue down the demanding and arduous path of becoming a doctor because your family wants you to, it does not end well for you. Being honest sooner is almost always better than being honest later. The pain and hurt of quitting once you're already a couple years into your training will almost certainly be worse than being upfront and quitting sooner.
I think that is really true. There are actually a lot of my colleagues that have done this, that have actually quit medicine, even through our medical school, maybe done a couple of years, or even have completed medical school and have done multiple years of training, and they realize that this isn't for them and they have made a stop. And then when I catch up with them later and they were doing things that they enjoy right now, they said that they've made the best decision ever. And they probably wouldn't have taken a different path because it wouldn't make them realize that medicine wasn't for them. And you will always have that infatuation in your mind thinking, oh, what if I had become a doctor? Wouldn't that be great? If you haven't walked through this path, you wouldn't know. And your parents' influence means the world to you when you're a 15, 16, 17-year-old. And when you become 20 years old, 25, 30 years old, you're actually living the life as a doctor. You're going through the pressure you need to go through. Your parents actually aren't living a life for you. You are the person that are going to that 12-hour shift, going to those night shifts day after day. And your non-medical friends don't understand either, because they'll be like, oh, why are you working all the weekends? Oh, why are you doing night shifts? Why are you working such long hours? They'll be like, oh, it must be tough. And they basically go home and then they go about their lives. And you realize when nobody really cares, you are really the own person to actually fend for yourself. And actually, you have to be the person that is enjoying this profession, because if you do, it is a very rewarding career. But if you don't, it can be very hard for you to continue ahead day after day with these exhausting rosters. Now remember, I have even colleagues tell me that I do not like talking to people, and 90 to 95% of the specialties within medicine itself requires you to communicate well and actually have regular contact with patients. And they tell me every time that I have to talk to a patient, it feels that I'm dead inside, and every single day they're suffering again and again, day after day. But like, say for me, I really like talking to people. I really like that patient interaction. So for me, it would be a complete different experience. I would find that very rewarding because I can be able to ask them questions, give them a diagnosis, treat them, interact well with them, communicate well with them, and in return, they will also be thankful, they will be grateful. And I would feel that I've achieved something significant that day because I've made a difference to my patients. So this is something that you really need to know what it's like on the other end. That's why I advocate a lot of people to actually go and shadow what it's like to be a doctor. Go and see what a med student is like. Go to see what a junior doctor is like. Go to see what a specialist consultant is like. Not just taking the snapshot of, oh, I'm gonna be this great surgeon, but you have to understand what their training pathway is like, what kind of sacrifices they need to make, and if that is something that you're prepared to do truly.
Number 2, hating people. You know the type. The people that get easily frustrated by others' seemingly endless stupidity or incompetence. If you're not patient with people, then being a physician probably won't make you happy. Some medical students joke that they are pursuing pathology because they don't like people, or even surgery so that they can put the patient under anesthesia so that they stop talking. But the reality is, every field in medicine requires good people skills and regular interaction with others. Sure, in pathology, you're not interacting with patients as much as a psychiatrist or a primary care doc would, but you still need to regularly coordinate with other healthcare providers to understand and analyze specimens and provide tailored guidance to the healthcare team. Similarly, a lot of surgery involves face-to-face interaction and clinic time. Even as a surgeon, you'll be spending about 2 days per week in clinic, not operating. And on surgery days, you'll still be spending a lot of time speaking with the patient and their family pre-op, with the healthcare team intra-op, and with their family again post-op. Be warned, not all patients are kind or appreciative of your work. If this is a deal breaker for you, think long and hard about your decision.
I think yes or no. I think a lot of people who realize that they don't like talking to patients but actually still enjoy the aspects of medicine, they can go to things like radiology, reporting radiographs, the x-rays, the CTs, the MRIs. They actually don't have to speak to a lot of patients, and some of them actually still enjoy it. So I don't think it's such a big deal breaker. And as a surgeon, from my own experience, they actually leave a lot of talking to the patients part pre and post-op actually to their own registrars. So once you're able to get past that training pathway as a registrar and become a consultant, they actually can talk much less to the patients. So this is somewhat true. But if you don't like talking to patients and you want to go into medicine, you've probably ruled out maybe 80 to 90% of the specialties that involved good patient handling, good patient communication, and you probably have to think more about whether this is suitable for you. So not a deal breaker, but partly true.
Number 3, you're allergic to hard work. Even if you're incredibly intelligent and skated through high school or even college with great grades and minimal work, that will not sustain you. Trust me. I have a few friends who have brilliant minds, so getting into med school was pretty easy for them. But the adjustment to vast quantities of information that you need to learn in med school is a different animal entirely. I would argue that intelligence has less to do with being successful in med school than you think. It's more closely tied to work ethic. Medical school requires more memorization than critical thinking abilities, and that's far less dependent on intelligence. And same with residency. The hours are long, and the amount of knowledge you need to acquire and hours of experience you need to put under your belt are nothing to scoff at. If your idea of hard work is a 9 to 5, 5 days per week, then medicine is not the right career path for you.
I think, again, somewhat partially true. Yes, there is actually a lot to learn in med school, and it is certainly during your junior years. It's not a 9 to 5 job. You would be working maybe 60, 70 hours a week to begin with, because during your first stages of training, you need to learn a lot of skills. You need to rotate around hospitals, and the hospital rosters can be quite grueling. So when you graduate as a junior doctor, for the first 5 to 7 to 10 years of whatever training specialty that you're in, you'll be working these grueling hours, 60 hours, 70 hours, plus on top you have to do your study, do your research, all of these things, so you can become this consultant. And actually, from a lot of consultants, medical consultants that I see, or general practitioners, radiologists, even the ED physicians that are working in the emergency department, they're actually working 9 to 5. A lot of them can have a 9 to 5 equivalent if you actually want it, but you have to be able to grind through those training years to be able to achieve this on the other end. But it is genuinely hard work, and it would be really hard to get through, 7 years, 8 years, 9 years, or 10 years of this hard work if you don't have that work ethic. And a lot of team members, especially the senior medical officers, those consultants, really like you if you have that work ethic. Yes, you have to have some sort of common sense and critical thinking. That's important as well, but that work ethic is what they really love. If you come in, you know your patients well as a junior doctor, you have things organized well, you're efficient, you have a hard working ethic, this is really what they are preferring. So this is really a big decision factor. You have to be able to put in those hours initially, at least for the first 7 to 10 years after med school. So, maybe plus another 5 years. So 10 to 15 years of hard work. And then you may be able to negotiate after that a kind of a 9 to 5 job if you do it smartly, which is still possible.
And number 4, medicine is not your main focus. If you are like me and have a variety of professional interests and pursuits, then medicine will not be conducive to your long-term vision. To be successful as a clinician, medicine has to be the central focus in your life. Sure, you can have side hustles and hobbies, I'm not arguing against that. But to make significant progress in other professional pursuits while pursuing medicine is neither feasible nor sustainable. Many medical schools don't even allow their students to work on the side because of the intensity and rigor. Schools understand that medical school is expensive and you want to get a job to help pay the bills, but it's much more likely to contribute to burnout and overall harm your medical school performance. In residency, your hours will be even more intense and your lifestyle even less conducive to pursuing side hustles. And depending on your specialty of choice, attending life won't be a walk in the park either. Looking across all specialties, only 13% of physicians work fewer than 40 hours per week. Most of them work between 40 to 60 hours per week, and a quarter of them work between 60 and 80 hours per week. If you are going into something surgical, expect your hours to be on the higher end of the spectrum.
I think that is somewhat true as well. There are points that I agree in terms of, yes, if you're in surgery, you'll be working 60, 70, 80 hours because you need to be that specialist. You need to be that surgeon that has performed thousands and thousands of surgeries. There is no replacement of just being smart. It's that repetitive muscle memory that you have to develop over thousands and thousands of surgeries. So if you want to be a part-time surgeon, it's not going to go well for you. But I think there also is some truth that you need to be really, really putting in a lot of time if you want to be a very good physician. There's so much to learn in the medical world, and there's so many updates. And some of the best physicians that I've seen not only dedicate their lives on the wards seeing patients, but also in academia doing their research and also teaching other students as well. These are some of the best physicians out there, but it doesn't mean you have to be working 80 hours a week if you didn't want to. A lot of these physicians are still really great even when they choose to work between 40 to 50 hours a week, so they can have a relatively good lifestyle depending on what specialty you choose. But again, it's that initial grinding 7 to 10 year period that you really need to put your hours in, put your knowledge in, and continue to have lifelong learning. That is probably the more resonant point that I have, is that you have to continue to learn. And I think this is really a deal breaker. If you are not a lifelong learner, you think that, okay, after my med school, everything, all the learning would be done, then this profession is definitely not for you. But if you truly enjoy learning, this is a really good profession. So many things to think about. Hopefully these would be able to give you a few tips and insight as in whether or not you will be suited for this profession itself. So I hope this video has been helpful for you. If you like this video, smash the like button and subscribe, and let me know which video you want me to watch next, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.